Aaron, my voice is so hoarse right now. I hope I don't sound too rough sounding.
No, it sounds fine.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was doing a lot of talking last few days, and I just realized I don't think I have a voice controller. What's that called? I think I need to go see like a speech person because I think I talk out of my throat and not out of my diaphragm.
Makes sense. I don't know who well, I know there's like voice coaches, but I always think of those for singing versus speaking.
Right, but you know what though? Since we're shifting towards such a digital presence, it's almost like I think now that skill set is going to come more into play, and I think that coaching business, if anyone's in it, they should definitely look to take advantage of creating that Zoom or whatever you want to call it, like digital voice. So anyway, I think it's a new business idea that maybe we could talk about with this week's guest, Rex Kurzius. Is that how you say his name?
I'm not sure.
I know.
I was behind the scenes yesterday. I wasn't paying attention, so
I know. Sorry, Rex. We don't mean to mutilate your name here, but Aaron, it's gonna be just the two of us today on Afterglow. So are we ready to kick this off?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. My name is Sia. Uh-oh, Aaron has frozen, and that is Aaron that's frozen in time. Aaron, are you there? Oh, there you go. Hi, Aaron.
Okay, I changed my mic. I realized I wasn't using my good mic. I was using my laptop mic, so I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Hey, at least for once, it's not me that's freezing up, so we're okay. So welcome, everyone. I'm Aaron. I'm Sia.
And I'm Aaron Greger.
And we are the Dallas co-chairs of Global Leaders Organization, and we're also the co-founders of Innovation Media Enterprises, a kick booty podcast production agency. So, Aaron, this week we had Rex Kurzius. Oh my gosh.
Rex K.
Rex, we're going to call him Rex K. And the topic was talking about 3 exits and finding the signal in the noise. I actually loved that he talked about finding signal in the noise. And as entrepreneurs, I think oftentimes we're so in the noise that I think we forget that there is that beacon that's flashing for us that, might be multiple beacons, to be brutally honest, with what we're trying to accomplish as entrepreneurs and business leaders. So, Aaron, you being a serial entrepreneur, do you know your own beacon? Do you know how to find that beacon in the noise? Is that how you would look at your entrepreneurial journey?
All right. What do you mean by beacon?
So I think for me, I'm a visual person, right? So when we're launching our own business or we are trying to accelerate growth in our own businesses, oftentimes there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of stuff going on and probably distracting us from the bigger goal, right? Sometimes we get lost in our own tasks of the business, meaning the mundane operational stuff, and not looking at what we actually set our goal is for our business. For some, it's to exit off.
Yeah.
For others, it's to hit certain thresholds. I don't want to go too much deep into the detail, but he said initially with Asset Panda, he wanted 100 million valuation, and now he has since achieved it. Now he's changed to $1 billion. Wow. And that's his goal. So he reevaluated his beacon, if you will, to find the noise. So in all your previous adventures and ventures, did you find yourself in the noise, or how did you find yourself to hone out of it?
Yeah. So definitely my first one, I was in the noise. I had no goal for it. It was just kind of everything was accidental. And I got swept up in the nobody can do this better than me. I want to touch everything. I want to be involved. I want to be, and not just involved, and really hit this massive exhaustion point. And I had to learn how to let go. And I think for me now as an entrepreneur, I don't want to be in the day to day. I want to be, I want to be in a position that, yeah, I've built it, but it can run without me, because that's what you should be. You shouldn't be creating a job for yourself. I think that's where entrepreneurs get stuck in. They create a job, and yeah, it's great. that they can work on their own and all of this stuff. But and again, the beacon can be, are you selling it? Are you, yesterday, I recorded a podcast, and the guy, his whole mission was to build it for his children. And that was the end goal, was that his children, it would be his legacy, and he'd build this company up and they can run with it. So whatever that is, but I do think you have to think of a bigger picture of just, I'm going to work this day to day. I'm going to work this day to day, because there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. I'd rather go to corporate America than just work it day to day.
Well, okay, so that's the thing that you mentioned right there. Rex had mentioned to establish your framework, both personal and professional. And one of the reasons why he started Asset Panda was because he thought it'd be a great exercise in teaching his kids entrepreneurship. Like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, shoot, man, what a way to set the bar so high that you start a startup with your kids, and now it's $100 million company.
Yeah.
But he did mention, he goes, that was something that he had a hard time learning early on. The mistakes that he made was that he was way overly involved. And one of the critical pieces that he discovered was putting processes in place. And that was part of that framework that I just alluded to and that he mentioned, was he both had a personal and a professional framework that he put together of what are my expectations? What am I willing to, work towards? So, for example, on the framework for his personal side, he said, I don't want to travel. I don't want to travel more than X amount of time. That is going to be one of the core tenets in my framework that I'm going to conduct my business both professionally and personally. Have we even thought about it? Like, I have not thought about framework. For me, I guess maybe because my corporate background, I work 24/7. If I have moments of inspiration, that I'm just jumping in and doing it. Is that the healthiest thing?
Yeah, I mean, I know I've thought a lot about obviously frameworks from a professional are super important for me, because again, I don't want to be in the day to day. It's just, that's not what I want to do. For me personally, I've had a lot of those just from a perspective of, I've done a lot of running around, and some of that, and travel and all of this. I think it's really important it's really easy to get caught up in I got to be here. We got to travel here. And I think if there's one thing the pandemic has taught us, is that you don't have to. Like, there is still 100% advantage of being in person. But I think it was a great time for us to look at those values and set those framework / boundaries, is what I look at. That is what he's calling those, right? Like, what is important to me and what will not get lost in the building of this business. Because I think a lot of people, they get so focused on the building of the business, and it'll get better when, I'm just going to kind of put my family off to the side, or I'm going to put my values off to the side, or I'm going to lose myself. I think that's a big one too. Like, I find if I'm not purposely doing creative things, I'm not in the right head, or exercising or doing certain things that are important to you. You've got to set those boundaries or that framework for yourself. And yeah, I think they're just as important on the personal side versus the business side. I don't know, if I feel like I kind of rambled on that one.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and again, knowing you all these years and knowing me, like, just our personalities and whatnot, do you ever feel like it's not FOMO? Okay, it's not FOMO, but I almost feel like fear of disappointing, or fear of, like, I feel like what motivates sometimes is, like, if I'm not doing this, am I dropping the ball somewhere? I don't even know if that's a term, but you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I don't know if that's a
are
motivation.
you dropping the ball should be a pretty yes or no question, right? Like, am I dropping the ball by not doing this, or delivering this or something? Like, that should be pretty straightforward. I think of, do I need to, go to this conference, right? Like, is this conference? I think you have to be very strategic in, how am I going to utilize this, right? Like, am I
Mhm.
going to learn? Okay, fantastic. That's what my focus is, to learn. Am I going to network? Okay, that's what my focus is. And here's exactly how I'm going to network. I think a lot of people just and is this the room I need to be in if I'm going to network, right? So it's those particular things. I think everything you look at, if it's going to go outside the boundary you're setting, or again, defining that framework, this is what I'm going to do, but accepting a new project. As entrepreneurs, you get very caught up in, oh God, opportunities. Woo, woo, woo. Let's do this. 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 Okay, pause. How does this fit in my overall goal as a person? Does this fit with my business? Can I make it fit with my business? If it doesn't, that's okay. Am I ready to take on another project? Does it make sense for what I want out of my life, out of my, you just have to be very clear, and it's got to be a very straightforward yes or no. Does it fit in where you want to go? If it doesn't, is it worth it? No, then move. I just think you have to set those clear, like, where it becomes an obvious yes or no.
It's funny that whether you're talking about it, because you know me, I keep bringing stuff to you all the time, like, hey, Aaron, we've got this potential opportunity. And you're like, see ya, slow your roll. Does it like really fit into our business model, et cetera? The one thing I think maybe optimistically for me, I like to keep challenging it. I'd rather you tell me, no, see, that's not great for our business, than we never broach the topic at all. And then we just kind of coast and maintain, you know what I mean? Like there's no growth, but there's just staying in a lane, if you will.
Right.
He mentioned he had a hard time with global or Asset Panda. And he shared that this was an endeavor that he wanted to involve his kids in, and he got them involved. And I guess it wasn't going well, and he was ready to give up. He was just like, this is not working out. I don't feel good about this. And then I guess one of his kids came up to him and said, hey, what's going on? How's it going? And I guess he just, if I may quote, he looked in their eyes, big brown eyes, and he said, it's going great. And then he did a mind shift within it. In his head, he was saying it was failing for whatever various reason. And then something in him clicked. And I think it was that shifting of finding that signal in the noise that he said, and he got out of his own way. He decided to say, look, my doubts and what I feel or I perceive as not being successful, he took a step back and reevaluated. And he said literally within days, it was almost like the stars aligned. There came a client with a project that made him look at the business, and they pivoted. It was a great opportunity. And before you knew it, it just kind of like steamrolled because of that pivot, and everything just started happening. And so it's interesting that we both say, like, you can't just jump at every opportunity, but at the same time, if it fits in that bigger goal and we actually have the vision to say, no, this might actually be working. It's such a tough thing if you think about that. And I think I'm rambling on right now, but I think that's a quintessential problem entrepreneurs have.
Well, and most businesses will fail. I mean, businesses will fail for, obviously money reasons. Does that mean you suck as a business owner? You just ran out of money, or it was a horrible business idea? No, it doesn't mean any of those. You just ran out of money. And I think too, we go in with a specific thing, but I also think you have to listen to your customers. Now, it can't just be, there's a fine line between pivoting because you see a new opportunity and it's a shiny object, and you do it because you can, not because you should. There's that versus, everything you go into a business for doesn't mean it's solid. Like, okay, this is who your customer is. This is what your message is. This is how you're going to serve them. This is blah, blah. This is how you stand out, your unique selling proposition. All these things, you go in with a hypothesis of what you think is going to work. But then as you talk to customers, as you do this, you may have to pivot. And there's nothing wrong with pivoting. And I think sometimes people don't pivot enough. I think they hold on to that. Well, this is what I'm going into, and this is what, and then they fail for that reason. So, but again, I would venture to guess that it wasn't like he took this customer and he did this, and then he took this customer and he did, B, and then he did this customer and he did C. No, he pivoted his company to focus on A, and then that's where they focus, and they went all in on A. And that's the difference, and understand, okay, this is maybe the opportunity. We went in thinking it was this, but this I see now is the opportunity. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think you perfectly summarized it in that way. And that absolutely makes sense. So, what I found very interesting is that he doesn't like taking money raising capital. So Michelle had asked, have you raised before? And he said he did on the first company. And he said that was his mistake he would never make again. So what he said was, he raised money for the first business and didn't realize that they were actually profitable in the first 45 days, but still asked for money. And he said it took years in buying out those other investors to get more control back within the company. So he said he bootstrapped every other startup and business that he's launched. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think you should bootstrap all the time, or maybe sometimes it does make sense to raise capital?
I think it depends. And again, it's understanding your North Star and understanding, obviously for him, it seems like he's got really certain parameters, specific parameters in his personal life that when you have investors coming in, they're not going to understand that. And you're answering to a different person outside of yourself. It seems like he kind of knows who he is as a person and what he wants out of a business. I think, this is so important for people to understand of Elon Musk shouldn't be, it can be, 100% can be. Is he your North Star, right? Is that where you want to go, where you're running, you're the richest man in the world, or if he's not, whatever. But is that really your North Star, where you're giving up everything for your business? Or is making, obviously Rex is doing much better, but I was going to say, is making $500,000, $1 million on a business, is that how you want to, is that fits into your life? There's nothing wrong with either one, right? And so is bootstrapping enough for you? And not to say bootstrap won't get you, obviously it got him to 100 million, obviously it gets, but how fast do you want to grow? Who are those partners you want to bring in? You can, maybe you do need to bootstrap to make it to year 4, or not bootstrap, but get financing to make it to year 4, or you have a product. A lot of times when you're doing a physical product, it's really, you need more of that cash coming in. So maybe bootstrapping isn't as much of an option, but obviously Sarah Blakely defied that too. She just sold her company, but I think it depends on you. I don't think there is this is the one path to business success, because you could find an example of a bazillion other ways people have done it. And so again, it's all about knowing who you are and what you want out of this and where you want to go with it. It's about you. And what you want out of the business and where you want to take it. I mean, that's really, I can't say you have to do it one way or the other.
Well, that's funny you should mention that, because he talked about authenticity, and there was the inevitable question, because he is an investor. Ironically enough, someone that doesn't like to take investments is an investor himself. But the question was like, what does he look at? Right? Like, so if you're going to put your money down, what is it that draws him to make the time and obviously put his money right where the mouth is? And he says he'll look at the business concept, and oftentimes he'll throw it in the trash. And I at first I was like taking notes. I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like, okay. But the reason why he says that is he wants to see if the entrepreneur can take a punch. And he wants to see what kind of grit, how they deal with failure. And I thought that was interesting, because it wasn't that he's trying to torture the individual. It's that the path of entrepreneurship is not paved in stone. It's quite bumpy and rocky and, terrain
There's a lot of
rich.
punches. Yeah.
And what he was saying though was, if he can see the authenticity of that individual, because you really get to know someone when they're down on the ground and getting kicked, right? And that's what he invests into, because the concept's got to be there. Obviously, it can't be just something like build it and it will come. I mean, that's great if you could be successful with it. So I guess, Aaron, like, how can you fake that authenticity? Can you fake it? I mean, you're a veteran. You've been down and out. You've challenged your way through. Could it be possible where you know this, you're playing the game and you fake it a little bit just to ease into that investor? Is that possible?
Well, there is a fake it till you make it. But I think a seasoned investor will know how to punch holes into you and your story to figure out that authenticity. Um, and I think there is, like, to his point, again, when it comes to entrepreneurship, what was I listening to? I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one, but it was all about the failures. It was just like, God, there's been so many failures and so many, and it's, are you going to brush yourself off and stand up? Are you going to have, the authenticity? But I think perseverance will is just as important, right? You're going to see who that person is. Are they going to stand up and persevere? Are they going to try to, okay, to Rex's, am I going to find the pivot or the plan? Okay, this isn't working. So am I going to quit? Or am I going to research and try to figure out, okay, what does work? What is it? Maybe my, again, my vision. And to me, I mean, I've made some mistakes. I've done some, big failures, but I didn't want that on my gravestone, so to say. That's not how I wanted to end things. And so for me, okay, I know what I did wrong. It's not like, I guarantee you as an entrepreneur, if you make a mistake, you're never going to look back and say, I did A through Z perfectly, perfectly, and I failed. What you have to be able to do is say, all right, what did I do wrong exactly? So where did this miss? Did, was it, I didn't sell enough? I didn't message right. I didn't, you got to find those points. And if you're willing to go back and find those points, that tells me a lot about a person, because your ego is not getting the best of you. You're willing to understand you've made a mistake, and then you're willing to say, I know what I can change to move forward, because I guarantee you, even if you are successful, you've made mistakes along the way, and there are things that you can do better, and you don't know everything. That's going to be my.
No, I love it. But well, you touch on another thing too, is like that ego and getting out of your own way. So I asked him in the VIP section, I said, look, and there was another individual that was asking really good questions. I think his name was Matt. But the hire slow, fire fast. And again, he said, as an entrepreneur, you got to look at yourself, change your mindset, and think of yourself as the investor. If I was investing in this company, what activities would I want to see that CEO, founder, whatever doing versus, being a small business owner, right? And so I said, look, I get what you're saying. We're a small business. We're still getting a lot of legs established, and we're getting our feet running, and we have a lot of projects in play, but we still have a challenge of finding the right people, finding the right talent, the skill set. You still need to get the task done, right? So at what point can you really step away? What point can you be like, okay, I trust this person is going to drive this car, so I can sit back and look at the map overall of where we're going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, is your vision clear? Is the from his perspective, his company and his brand is so clear that that's the first thing. Like, you can't expect somebody to drive towards a star that they have no idea where it is, right? So that's, and then be in those processes. You've got to, okay, what is this, how does this occur? What happens? All right, I'm going to put that person in. Obviously, I'm not going to put him in, hire him, and walk away and be like, everything's set, you're good. You want to work with that, you want to work with that person to make sure they understand it and that they can execute. Maybe you're going to find there's what you thought was rock solid isn't rock solid. They can poke some holes in it. You can fix those, but you've got to I think it's super important to have a clear North Star of your company and what you stand for and who you are and how they're going to reflect that is so crucial. And I think that's a huge missing piece in businesses. They just do X. We just do X. Okay, well, that's great. So just help me do task B that helps us do X, right? That that's, they can do it, but are they really going to go beyond that and be that reflection of you, of what you want them to be? And you've got to be clear about that. And I would venture to say most companies, I don't feel we do that well. Most companies do not do that well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think Man, we were all part of that corporate world where we didn't feel like our contributions mattered, or we're being paid to do a task. We've got no
Yeah.
autonomy to make this company better. And even if we did have the autonomy to make the company better, what are the rewards? Like, am I really getting compensated to do that extra work on behalf of a company that probably doesn't view me more than as a line on a spreadsheet? And that's tough. That's tough. So in the VIP section, there was, you know, that question of like, well, how do you get a team on board to transform? And he used that word. They need to understand that their position is all about transformation, that entrepreneurship is all about transformation, that we're supposed to pivot. All job descriptions is supposed to pivot at some point, because once you master a quote skill, um, you should be striving for something more than, if it can be automated, then it should be automated kind of mentality. So we talk about culture, Aaron. We talk about, you know, building a cohesive environment that's friendly, welcoming, etc. What does that actually mean? We hear it and talk about it all the time, but what do you think that means?
Well, it, what I think it means, I know a lot of people will think it means putting a ping pong table in a lobby and making a fun environment. To me, I everybody needs to feel that they matter no matter what they say. And you know what? There's going to be some people, and we see it all the time. Maybe they're cool with just, being really good at one thing, right? Maybe they don't want to move up to management or CEO or whatever. Maybe their life is, set in a way that they're going to, and that's okay. But I think you need to understand the person. And I do feel like there are people, like we always say, oh, be an entrepreneur. It's so cool. Like, go do this. And they're just people that don't want to do it. They
Yeah.
don't want to. They want to sleep at night. And of course, they want to not worry about payroll and stuff like that. They worry about other things. But I think you have to create a culture that people can be fully who they are and contribute in a way that matters to them and mean something. So, and what I mean by that is maybe it is innovation. Maybe it is, I want to know that I can grow within this company and I can hit, but I am contributing. And when I come to work every day, if I don't come to work, they're going to miss me, right? I am contributing of building this company. I think creating a culture of that where you are allowing people to be who they are. You're allowing people to grow in whatever capacity they want to grow, and understanding that and offering that opportunity, and, being a place that matters to them and they matter to you is just, I think is really important. And they understand too their contribution to a customer or a client or whatever. Again, do you miss them? Would they miss you? It's just, I feel, to me, that's really important to understand, and creating a culture that cultivates that.
So I love that you said that, because this is a very it's very interpersonal within an organization, right? Like how you guys communicate with one another. You can extrapolate that and expand it. So instead of employees talking amongst themselves or employer to employee, what about if it's business to business? Right. And so one of the key components that they talked about was networking with other businesses and the importance of building a community ecosystem with your own business, with your own personal network, professional network, what have you. And that was like, it sounds like a pitch for Glow, but
I thought that's where you were going. I thought you were queuing it up.
I was kind of maybe slightly, never so, ever so, not so slightly and subtly, but no, but Rex really threw it out there. He goes, no, this is the critical piece and component as to why Asset Panda was able to grow. He has a legitimate network of people that he's cultivated over the years, and he could not mince words when he said, you, all entrepreneurs has to network. You have to be part of a community. And that's why, Glow, and he loved being part of Glow because he can help and support one another, right? Like, don't confuse it. He's an investor, right? And he's a
Right.
member of Glow. Don't think in our communications, our meetup, he's, that we run into him, that
Yeah.
there's not an opportunity.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Glow real quick, Aaron. So why do we care about all this stuff?
Well, hold on. I just have to runny nose. This is all part of the global leaders organization, which is GLO.com. And it is an organization for entrepreneurs, just as we're talking about. It's a lonely road. No matter what, you could have 1,000 employees. I promise you're still going to feel alone. And the interesting thing about entrepreneurship, just like parenting, just like whatever else, you're probably dealing with a lot of the same things. You just feel like you're the only one dealing with them. So it is important to be surrounded by others who are doing what you do, who maybe can look at something just from a different perspective, who maybe went through something similar that you're going through and got out on the other end, and they can explain how they did it. It's just super important to surround yourself with that. So that's what Glow's all about. It's an international organization, but there are local chapters. C and I are part of the Dallas one. And there's a lot of different things outside of just connecting and networking. And we'd love to have you be a part of it. So head over to withglow, GLO.com.
And thank you so much. And to reiterate, you guys, a community component and aspect of it, even with other events that you attend, there's always in mind that there's going to be other Glow members and in those other groups and organizations. So case in point, we just had an event this past week where it was literally a mix of Glow members that we invited to say, hey, we're all entrepreneurs. And it happened to be esports focused industry, which is funny because you would think, oh, I have nothing to do with esports. Why should I care? It wasn't that. It was a room of a bunch of entrepreneurs because esports is a budding industry. And it was amazing to see the connection. There was quite a few Glow members that showed up, and they all came back and gave me feedback that, like, look, their business industries have nothing in common, but the pain points, the challenges of establishing and growing a business is all right there. And, if we can make that connection and make it happen, you can do that in your own community. If there isn't a chapter, create your own. We'd love to have you be a chapter chair with us.
Well, and I'll say, I think it's a book. I don't know where it is. I can't remember who the author is, but he talks about like one of the most important things business owners can do. Cause a lot of times we sell insurance, right? Or we have an insurance company. So what are other insurance people doing? And the best thing you can do is navigate out to other verticals and get ideas from on how they're, utilize that in your business. Cause otherwise you're just going to look like everybody else in your industry.
Right. You're starting to cut out. So we missed a little bit of that, but it sounds like to me, what you're saying is meeting others and creating that relationship to differentiate yourself
in other industries, verticals.
Yeah. And that is so critical. I think that's really important. So on that note then, so I do want to make sure we do a shout out because shockingly enough, Aaron, next week's speaker, Vince Placente, he's going to be talking about the earthquake. Looks slightly familiar. Anyone that's following us might have seen him last week on our show, but he is going to talk about the earthquake. So it's overcoming setback to breakthrough. It is a additional, next step book from The Ant and the Elephant. That's another best-selling book. So really excited to hear Vince's perspective of the earthquake. And by the way, the pandemic was a bit of an earthquake for us, wasn't it, Aaron?
Yeah.
I mean, it's some, everyone had to shift and reevaluate our fundamental way of thinking, our sense of security, our sense of stability, all that good stuff. So check out next Thursday. It is free on Facebook and on YouTube. And of course, premium members, you'll get VIP access to have one-on-one conversations to go a little bit deeper. On that note, Aaron, do you have any other thoughts on Rex and,
I don't. I think it's just a matter of being true to who you are and understanding, what your North Star, I keep saying the North Star is my term of the day, I guess, but, understanding what you want out of it and being true to that and whatever that business is going to do to help you get there.
Love it. And on that note, everyone, so have a great, safe week, and we shall see you on the next episode of the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. See ya.